Hello and welcome, I'm Arumba. Thank you for joining me. Let's play some more Crusader Kings 2 in our tutorial series. So in the last few videos we covered things like how prestige works, how vassals are going to provide us with levy, and how that opinion affects things. And also we covered quite a bit of information on attributes and state attributes. And what I want to cover next is I want to talk a little bit about the different types of laws that you're going to run into, and then also I want to talk about plotting. Now, plotting may have been more important to talk about in episode number 1, because it is the heart of Crusader Kings 2. If you're not plotting, if you're not scheming, then you're missing out on a huge amount of potential for growth and expansion. So we did briefly touch on the fact that we currently have no feudal levies, we have no feudal vassals, we have no barons, and we are not high enough level to have counts as a vassal, which would be another form of a feudal character. So we have no one that would actually be impacted by these two laws. You are only able to change your laws once every 5 years per character. If your character changes a law and then dies tomorrow, his heir can change another law right away. But an individual character can only change a law once per 5 years. So if you want to move your country or your realm into a specific direction, it's important that you change laws as early as you can so that the cooldown can start, and also the possibility that if you die, you don't miss that law change. Now, if we were to raise church taxation, then what would happen is that we would get a larger clergy vassal tax modifier. It would go from 35% of their income to 55% of their income, but it would also make all of our church vassals like us by 20 opinion less, or 20 opinion fewer would actually be proper English. So the problem with this is that right now, when we look at our current vassals, our current Bishop of Cloyne is not paying us any taxes. He pays taxes to Pope Nicholas. And that's because even though we did become zealous, and we have a 100 opinion from this bishop, he really, really likes us. He thinks we're the bee's knees, but he likes the Pope the same amount. And so in situations where there's a tie, bishops will always choose the Pope. The way that the Pope gets all of his money is that every single Catholic bishop in the game that likes him more than their liege pays him taxes. If you go to the Pope, either go to the religion tab and then click here, or if you just want to go to Rome and then click on him, and then you click on the papacy, you can see his income. Church tax, 517 ducats a year. And these are all of the princes, the prince bishops and the bishops that across the Catholic world are paying him taxes because they like him more than their liege. So that's why the Pope always has so much money. He starts off the game with a little bit, but he'll end up with thousands and thousands of ducats, and he'll give that money away to characters that are at war with other religions, most notably in the Spanish Peninsula, the Iberian Peninsula. If Asturias is in a holy war against the Umayyad, the Pope will give him money. You can also do things like request money. I think we briefly touched on that before. You have to have quite a bit of opinion and a lot of piety to be able to get them to give money. So, how can we make this bishop better for us? Well, we have a few options. First off, we could, now that the Pope likes us because we're zealous, we could bring back our court chaplain and have him try to decrease relation between priest and spiritual leader, 16% chance. So if we bring him back and target our own county, there's a 16% chance per year that he'll spread rumors or say something nasty about the Pope to this Bishop Gilla, which would decrease his opinion of the Pope by, I can't recall what it is. I think it's 15 or 20, or I don't know. Maybe it is 30. It's just some number, but it's important if you're going to try to use that chancellor or that counselor to do that, you need to measure up how much this character likes the Pope. Because let's say he likes him by 150. If all these numbers total up to 150, then just one event lowering his opinion won't do anything. But if he's right on the cusp, say he's at like 101 or 102, then that event could bring him low enough that you actually would take the lead, and then you'd have opinion. Now, naturally, if we were to raise taxes, then our opinion would go down too, but and this is one minor complaint that I've always had. It lists all of the modifiers to opinion, but it doesn't give you a sum. I don't know why, after 2 years, they wouldn't add that into the game. I mean, come on. Honestly, isn't it more important to know that you're at 100 versus 120? Like 100, I mean, sure, cap it off at 100, but it would be very useful to know what the actual number is. But anyway, that's my mini rant about it. So, that's one option. We could try to decrease his opinion of the Pope. Another option would be to just revoke his bishopric. We could just take it from him and just say, fine, if you're not going to pay taxes to me, then I'm just going to take it. And he would surrender it to us, because we're much stronger than he is. It would take us 25 prestige to do this, and it would lower his opinion of us by a huge amount, and all of our other vassals by 20. Here's the thing, though. We only have one other vassal. It's just this mayor. And he likes us pretty decent, and there's a pretty good chance that we would actually come out ahead by just revoking the bishopric. Now, if you paid attention in the first video, or maybe it was the second video, you might be thinking, well, hold on, didn't you say that there's a severe penalty to holding a non-feudal holding if you are not the correct type of character? And the answer is yes. Yes, there is. But remember, he's supposed to pay us 35% tax, and right now he's paying us none. What would be better than none? Any number is better than none. The penalty is 75% income malus on your holdings, if it's the wrong type of holding. So we would effectively be getting 25% of the income of a bishopric, which is 25% more than 0%, so it's still better. Now, more importantly than that, though, is that we would get 100% of his levy. Now, this is where there's a kind of a break in the game, in my mind. You can either play in a role-play sense, and I find that to be very enjoyable. Play based on your traits. You know, if you're a kind character, don't do things that are evil, and don't revoke people's bishoprics because you want their money. But if you want to succeed, sometimes you have to do things that are a little bit less kind. So that's one another option that we could take. We could just revoke his bishopric. Now, a third option, and this is what I usually do if I don't want to revoke bishoprics, is to just lower the taxes. No church tax. Landed priests are exempt from taxes. If he's going to pay taxes to the Pope, and he's not going to pay taxes to me, well, let's just remove the taxes from the bishoprics and say, fine, don't pay taxes to anybody. Because then, at the very least, this character would no longer send any money to the Pope, and instead keep all of it for himself, and then use that to upgrade his bishopric. The way I see that, it's basically like he is, keeping all of the money within our realm. I don't like money to leave the realm. So, that's one thing that we could do. We could lower church taxation. And you'll notice that as you lower taxes, the church vassal opinion goes up. As you raise taxes, church vassal opinion goes down. Same thing applies with the maximum church levies versus minimum church levies. Now, this number can be a bit confusing. You see how it says clergy max levy minus 20%. What the hell does that mean? Well, it's easiest if you compare it to, say, maximum feudal levies. Compare it to the way that castles work. If you have a minimum feudal levy tax law, then the noble vassal max levy is reduced by 40%, which means that at most, a feudal lord will provide you with 60% of their troops. Even if they love you more than anything in the whole wide world, they will still not give you that remaining 40%. If you go all the way up to maximum feudal levies, then they are obliged to provide their entire levy. Now, in order for them to do that, though, they have to have very, very high opinion of you. So, for instance, if you have a feudal vassal who has 70 opinion under maximum feudal levies, you're still not going to get the whole levy. You need to have nearly 100, in fact, I think it might actually be 100 opinion to get the absolute maximum feudal levy. So just because you raise the law that says how many troops are they supposed to give doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get more troops. It's all tied to opinion. Now, with churches, this now should make more sense. The clergy vassal max levy, even at the peak, even at the highest, is always going to be minus 20%. that's just because they're a different type of character. You're not going to be able to pull all of their levy. So in this case, even if we were to get church taxes or church levy to full, we would get more troops if we were to just revoke the bishopric outright. Now, if you are a quick-minded person, you might be noticing that even though he's got 100 opinion of us, and the law says that he should provide us with 60% of his troops, he's providing us with none. Well, unfortunately, if he's loyal to the Pope, as far as taxes are concerned, he's also not going to provide any levy to us at all. So we have a real problem with this bishop. We should either do one of those options. I think what we'll do, for the sake of early game expansion, even though it doesn't really fit with that kind trait that we just picked up, or the fact that we're supposed to be zealous, it's like all things church, let's just go ahead and revoke the bishopric. Unfortunately, the 28 ducats that he has will leave our realm by revoking a bishopric. What he's going to do is, we're going to take this territory from him, and then he's going to be all sore about it, and he's going to leave our court. He's going to go to some other court. So let's actually go ahead and set him as special interest, and we'll follow him. That's actually a whole nother topic. And again, yet again, man, my goodness, these videos, no time is passing at all in this game, but that's okay. I mean, we're just going to take our time. And he is, unfortunately, a pretty damn good court chaplain, and this is one of the things that I do find quite comical about the game. He is the court chaplain, but if we send him to improve religious relations in our capital, in our country here, he'll essentially will go talk to himself and say bad things about the Pope to himself, and convince himself that the Pope is a bad dude, which is hilarious because it makes him sound schizophrenic. But yeah, so he's going to take this money. Special interest. How does special interest work? Well, it used to be this really, really hidden thing that you had to right-click, and then there was this little tiny itty-bitty button. A while back, they added it right here. Special interest you can do in things like EU4. It's basically where you want to know more about a specific character. So you just click that button, or again, on any character, you can right-click, and then it's right there. You can also go to relations, go to location. You can see, I don't even know what that button's supposed to do really, but no one ever uses it. It's silly. Go to location. You can do the same thing just by clicking on it. But anyways, we're going to take our bishop, we're going to set him a special interest, and then we're going to revoke his title. And we'll let time pass for once. How nice is that? Now, pay close attention to the realm tree here. Right now, we have 503 troops. Now that we've revoked the bishopric, now we have access to these 212, and then this should update, not usually right away. And then here's this pop-up that says, wrong type of holding in domain. The following holdings are of the wrong type, the bishopric of Cloyne. And so if we go to the bishopric and we hover over this, we can see wrong government type minus 75%. Notice, though, that the collect taxes plus 22.5 is now applying to this bishopric. Remember, when we were talking about our counselor, I mentioned that this collect taxes applies to all holdings that you control directly in this county. And now that we control it directly, it's going to apply to the castle and to the bishopric. So that does offset the penalty slightly. And, we're going to make some money off of this now. And more importantly, we have 100% access to the levy. Alright, we did just fire our court chaplain. We can go to characters of special interest. We could follow him now. So he is now at court in Bunradi Thomond. So he's gone to our next door neighbor. He said, screw you. I don't want to live in this court anymore. You took my stuff. I'm going to go help your enemy. Or just any other random Catholic character. So we need a new court chaplain. Unfortunately, they're all terrible. And so what we'll probably do instead is utilize this decision to invite a holy man to court. And hope that we get someone who's a little bit better than the current characters. Right now, the best learning character, again, learning is what's important. This state learning score, state intrigue, these indicate what attribute is important for each counselor. So we need a character with high learning, and the best we have is 6. We don't really want to use either of those, they're pretty terrible. A good measure of a good amount would be about 10. Anything beyond 10 is good. But when you have a very big realm, it's very common to have counselors that are in their 20s, maybe even 25 points. Just depends on how many people you can pull from. The larger your court, the larger your number of direct vassals, the more potential characters there are to serve on your council. Now, inviting a holy man to court is just going to cost us 5 piety. In my opinion, piety is a nearly useless resource compared to like prestige or gold, and so I have no issue at all spending some piety to invite random characters. Now, what this is doing is it's generating random, brand new characters out of thin air. Essentially, think about it like this. All the characters in the game are either landed characters or really important people that live in your court, but they're not all of the people. You know, there are hundreds of thousands of peasants and monks and priests and whatever living in the lands, and when you're clicking that button, you're pulling one person out of the peasantry and putting them in the quote-unquote nobility and bringing them into your court. But it is generating a random person with no ties to anything, no claims to anything, and we can see him now. That's who we just hired. He's got 11 learning, and I think that's perfectly fine for what we're trying to do. He puts on his little priest hat, and now we will... Now, he's not the bishop, of course, because we own the bishopric, but we still want to improve religious relations again with the Pope. Because the Pope's not maxed out, he's at 74. Now, for the time being, there's really no negative side effect at this point, then, to holding onto this bishopric. We're below our domain limit, and actually, one quick thought, somebody pointed out in one of the comments that I forgot to mention that your domain limit does also get impacted, not just by your own stewardship, but half of your wife's stewardship as well. It's a minor thing. It says right on there, ruler stewardship bonus +1, but it's also going to include half of your wife's stewardship into the score. So, okay, well, we let all of like 2 weeks pass, so that's a pretty good video, would you say? Let's take a break here, and I'll see you again in the next video. See you soon.